tonight, here. And we ask that you just be with us. We ask you to give us wisdom and knowledge to continue to keep growing as a community. And thank you for those that serve this community. We ask your blessings on them, and we ask that you just help us to be the community that you know we can be, so we can grow into that and be all we can be at this time. So we thank you for that, and I just release the blessing of God over our community and over the people and everybody in it. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you all for coming this evening. Well, I guess we've moved from snow to rain, so we need the moisture. Roll call, Alderman Ward 1, Jeff Bodkins.
Here.
Alderman Ward 1, Jason Osborne.
Here.
Alderman Ward 2, Mark Greeny.
Here.
Alderman Ward 2, Adrian Saunders. Here. Alderman Ward 3, Jubin Moss.
Here.
Alderman Ward 3, Kent Shoemaker.
Here.
Thank you all for coming. Public comment? Do we have anything this evening? Anybody would like to voice? Yes, sir.
Has Missouri Metalcraft paid their bill?
Is there Metalcraft up on their bill, Jennifer?
No. No, I think Tamitha has that in her report, but no.
Okay, so I think we'll address that in our city administrator's report. Anybody else? All right, consent agenda. Alderman, if you could please look over the minutes from January 11th, 2024 meeting.
Approved January 11th.
Have a motion to approve the January 11th, 2024 minutes. 2 seconds. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Council, if you could please look over the accounts payable presented on January 25th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable 1 and 2.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve accounts payable 1 and 2. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the utilities collection policy. The ladies have been working on updating some of our policies, making them more cost effective. Council, did you all have a chance to review those policy changes before this evening?
Some questions on the deposit, given back the fully deposit after that time period. Would it be better to make sure that they paid in full before they receive their deposit?
Yes, actually, they would not get their deposit back. It would be applied to their final bill. And then if there's any remainder, they would get that back as a refund.
Okay, on the landlord situation, that the renter should be responsible for the meter and the billing of that, or you're giving the responsibility to the landlord on the independence of the billing cycle per unit of the housing of the renters taking over who's responsible for that, the landlord or the renter?
Well, of course, that's ultimately up to you all, however you see fit for that. One policy that I'm aware of, and is that once a tenant moves out, that property is not rented out again until that balance is paid. It doesn't matter if it's paid by the landlord, tenant, whoever, but that city won't rent out that property again until that balance is paid.
So when that person is hooked up to the utilities, the renters, they come into the city hall and they sign up and make a deposit and.
Correct.
Okay, so that should be their responsibility then, right, when they move out?
Absolutely. It
Instead
should
of
be.
the
Yes.
landlord?
It should, oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
Uh-huh.
that should be in that policy, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you want the tenant to pay. I mean, you don't want to have, to try and collect elsewhere. I did go back and I was looking at some inactive, utility accounts that were tenants. at one point in time, and then they've gone inactive, that had a balance. And I did not get through all of the landlord list with every dwelling in town that had a balance. Some of these are outstanding from many years ago, but, you know, not recent, but some are many years ago. And it's over $83,000 is what the city has missed out on in revenues for utilities, because these tenants have left and not paid their month's bill. So I'm just looking at it as a perspective of the city and as taxpayers, when these accounts go unpaid, that gets pushed over to the ones that are paying their bill, because you're gonna have to increase rates overall at some point in time to keep the revenues in those accounts.
Are those in collections, John?
I don't know if they are. Not that I know of. I mean, we haven't filed any cases against anybody.
Shirley had sent some to Gem City right before she left.
My biggest concern with that is if they're skipping out on utilities, they're skipping out on rent too.
Mr. Connor, did you have a question?
Yeah, the way I see this is it's a contract, utilities are a contract between the tenant and the city. The landlord's not involved in that contract. If the tenant doesn't pay me rent, I can't go, it's against the law for me to go shut the utilities off, because that's a contract between you two, not the three of us. So I shouldn't be held responsible to pay their usage if they skip town. I'm already getting screwed over on the rent. And if I wanna collect it, if they get behind, I've gotta get a lawyer and go to court and sue them for it. And, I mean, but my contract is between me and the tenant, it doesn't have nothing about utilities in it. So, I think that, I feel that needs to be revised.
I have a question. So does each tenant, when they move in, do they pay you, say your security deposit or first
Right.
and last
Yes.
month? Do they also pay a deposit on their utilities if they're a new customer
They
to
do
that
To
property?
the city, not me.
To the city.
And I feel like that currently, they give the deposit back over a period of time. I think they ought to hold it just like I do my rent until the very end, and then if everything's good.
And
And that's one thing we're suggesting to
And
do
I
also.
think that would help
Yeah.
the problem. Right?
That's in the revision of the policy that we do.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's
see
a
it
good
right here.
idea.
Yeah. I think that would help, but it still may not eliminate it. If you let a tenant go 2 or 3 months behind on utilities, then they're gonna overuse what their deposit was in the first place. Just like if I let them go 2 or 3 months behind on rent, then the 1 month's rent that they give me for their deposit isn't gonna be covered. And, I mean, sometimes it takes 6 months to get them out if you gotta go to court. So then
How much was
they're-
that deposit?
They're in there for 6 months.
The outstanding, is that what you're talking about?
At the beginning, when they make the deposit for a hookup.
It's $100 per meter, unless they heat with electric, and it's a $200 electric deposit.
It totals
And you can't, you can only have just one set of deposits for all types of residents, no matter if they're a renter or a homeowner.
The only thing is the landlords can screen their people a little bit. We have no choice but to give them utilities when they come in, so that's where that fine line falls at.
And I'm not saying this is anything, you know, the landlords have to do, but it is an option where the landlord keeps those properties in the landlord's name. And then if anything ever happens, then that landlord can come in and say, turn those meters off today. And we can, because it's in the landlord's name, rather than the tenant's name.
Yeah, but we're already gonna get beat out of a month's rent than compared to getting beat out of the electricity bill. And the way I've read that thing is, if one of your houses is behind, they can come to your house and cut you off.
And we read over that too, and we were thinking.
If I'm good on my utility, you better not come to my house and cut me off.
Wait a second, that's why we're having these conversations.
We can change that, that's why we wanted
That's why we
feedback
wanted
before the
feedback.
meeting.
Yes.
So we could
We're
have had
getting
some.
it right now.
Yeah.
So-
It's nice to have before.
Mr. Coker, did you have a question or input on this?
I just didn't know if we had a database or a file that shows who has not paid their bills, so they can't go rent from another landlord, open up another utility account at a different property, and then double hit that against
Gotcha. So,
83,000 is quite a bit. Is there
Right.
anybody that's doubled up in there?
so do we have a list, so when they come in, it's kind of flagged, a little red thing
We
that says,
do,
don't,
but we haven't been doing it.
Well,
There's-
I don't think you can give that out anymore.
Well, right,
You
but I
used to be
mean,
able to make a sunshine law request for that, and they just changed the law to where you can't, to protect.
Is that for other
People.
counties or whatever is what you're talking about? I'm just talking about our own city database. Can't we keep that for the utilities?
yes, we
Just in
can
the
keep it,
city.
but he's saying we can't
We can't
release
give
it,
it
so
to
if
the-
Brad
give it to
calls and
landlord.
says, hey, I'm getting ready to rent to this person, do they have any outstanding utility bills anywhere else? You're saying, John, these
I don't think you
ladies
can
can't
release
say.
it.
No,
the city
they
doesn't
just
say
passed
rent.
a new.
But you'll find out,
sunshine
because
law,
when they
yeah.
come to City Hall to get utilities in their name, these ladies are gonna see it, and they're gonna be like, no, we're not.
That's what I'm asking. If
Yes.
we're holding on to it at City Hall when they apply for new
Right.
utilities account.
Sure.
Mhm.
Is that written into the policy? If they are outstanding somewhere else, they cannot apply to a second
I think
location.
it's
Well-
right in there somewhere.
I thought it was, because we
It
talked
is.
about this.
However, if you have a tenant that is moving from one place to another, like say they're buying a property, and they're up to date on their, well, always been up to date on their rent or utilities,
Utilities.
then it's kinda hard to say, no, we can't give you utilities in your new place until you pay this balance. So, you know, when it's in that case
Handle that.
scenario,
That's the way I did it when I moved. I paid my balance at the old place,
Mhm. And they
and
got
the
it
next
turned-
month, I put deposit and paid the balance, starting the new one.
right,
The
cause we
final
don't,
bill,
You don't move
they
an
furnish
egg.
right away, so you wouldn't get a fine, I mean, they go read the meters, but you can't print just the final bill for people that move out in the middle, we can only print bills all in one batch.
you can print a final bill whenever they do the readouts, like, you know, and then have a bill form, it wouldn't be that
We need
exact
to.
minute, but,
We need to.
yeah, we can do that.
So when they come in to say, hey, I'm moving out on the 15th, can you issue a work order to the other departments to discontinue utilities to that property? And then do a final bill for them before they start a bill at a new location?
A lot of times when they come in though, they want it off and on, off in one property,
They
and
want
then
them
on the
overlapped.
same day, in the other property.
Shelbina, I mean, this is just a Shelbina, they give them 7 days that they can have 2 properties in their name. They give them just enough time to get one out of one house and clean up, and then that's all the longer you
That
can
could be an
have.
option then.
So I don't know. It's
Because
how they
within
do
that
it
7-day
there.
period, we could final that other bill out, and they pay it, and then we could start service at the new property on them. That could be an
So this
option.
part of here, if, Brad, have you guys seen,
It's page 2.
okay, you've got it, okay. So, yeah, at the top it says, if a landlord does not pay a bill in between renters at any location, all locations in the landlord's name will be shut off and no utilities will be put back into their name until all delinquent bills are paid. So, that probably shouldn't be in there.
So just put it in.
We have some landlords that we have multiple bills left on to us in their name, but here's the one thing though, before, we were creating a new, every time a tenant moved out and the landlord, it went back in the landlord's name, we created a whole new account. So then that landlord may not know, he has 5 bills up there because he's rented it out and doesn't realize in that amount of time. So now Danette has gone back and we're using the same account every time, so if he's left it, it's all gonna be bunched in that one bill, so they don't, I mean, cause we've had a couple people that come in, he paid his, he wanted an invoice saying that all his properties were caught up, because he didn't even know he had all of them, and there's been a couple of them that have done that. So,
But I see this, the bullet point before that though is, so they can have it shut off, and then they get the utilities get read back into your name.
Right.
So it's just when
So,
it gets
so
put back into your name,
anytime the property's vacant, the landlord, if he
pays
wants
the
to.
utilities,
Keeps
yes.
the utilities and pays them for that period of time until the next tenant moves in.
Mhm.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Right, is that what this is saying? Just when the utility bill gets put back into his name, whatever he's responsible for is what you're
right,
going
right,
off
yeah,
of.
that's, yes,
Yes.
yes, that's what this is saying.
Not if it's in John Doe who rented the property,
No,
no,
it's
it's
only
back in
in-
Brad's name, it's what he's responsible for,
Yes.
not the renter.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what
okay.
this is.
But 4 bullet points down is the one I've got a problem with. It's the last one of that paragraph.
The rental property, that one,
Yes.
will not be made active by a new tenant until all previous balances are paid. Yes, I do too, because I see what you're saying. You can't continue to rent your property just because John Doe didn't pay his
Right.
utilities, and that was a contract between John Doe and the city of Monroe City, not you.
Right.
But how do we stop people from having utilities though? We can't, if he rents to them,
You
there's
keep
no.
their deposit.
Well,
Well,
John
we
Doe
could.
comes back, if John Doe comes back and now he wants to rent over on First Street, you see he's got a delinquent utility bill. No, John, you gotta pay your bill that you had over here when you were renting from Brad.
And I was
Right,
rent
right,
to
but
him,
there's so
and
many
he
people
can't
aren't
get
coming
utilities
back,
on, and
they
he can't
move
live
out of
with it.
town.
Right,
So that would
That's
tell
where
me
you're
that
gonna
he's
lose
got.
it all.
right,
he
that
can't
would
get
be
utilities.
your notice that, well, he can't get utilities, so he must, yeah.
But they're gonna jump from here to Paris to Hannibal like
But
they
they're gonna
already
get to where
do.
they're only 30 days past due, and then they get cut off, right? So that will solve that problem.
Right.
Because then we would keep their deposit.
Exactly, there's just a lot of things that we haven't been enforcing in the first place, and now we have policy revisions and enforcement's gonna happen. So, did that give clarification
Yeah,
on that?
It
And
does.
the last one, ladies, council, do you agree that, they should still be able to rent their property if they're current on their responsible utility part?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we cross that out? We cross that bullet point out.
But you're saying it's still okay to have a balance on that property from the previous tenant?
Right, because that previous tenant is gonna rent somewhere else, so you're not gonna give him utilities anywhere else until he pays that. That's his
So-
And
responsibility.
hopefully his deposit will cover, if he doesn't, they leave us with that balance.
Exactly.
They can't, they're not gonna be any more than 30 days past due, because then they wouldn't have utilities.
And then
Yeah,
that
because
person's
we're
bill
about,
will go.
we'll be about a month behind on billing, so if they moved out, you know, at a certain time, it could possibly be up to 2 months worth of
Yeah.
billings, yeah.
What if we set the deposit as an average of their previous 12 months bill for that resident?
That's how other cities do it, is they average it for 12
That's a
months.
good idea.
But you don't know if there's 6 people there before, or 1 person before, and then 10 moving in, or you don't know.
That's how
Yeah,
Chevron.
but it's
So better than
still
nothing.
better than a flat fee.
Yeah, flat fee, I don't think works well. I think that's why other cities use a 12-month average.
Brad, do you have the ability to go check on your tenants to make sure that they're current?
I mean, I can ask them, they can lie to you if they want to.
Do they generally provide you with forwarding information if they leave? Any of them?
50% of the time.
What
I
if-
mean, I've had it where they've left town and I didn't find out till 2 months later,
Yeah.
when I'm banging on
Yeah,
the door.
Right.
And that'll happen in here too.
John, what if on his rental application, one of the things that's required is a, check on his utility payments? If he's current on it, is it legal
Well, I
then?
don't think, Brad, I
If
don't think
the-
that'd be enforceable.
If the tenant signs,
Well,
What you're saying is, if somebody applies to rent, I can come to the city and make sure that they're current on utilities.
right, one of your stipulations on getting approved for renting from you is current on utility bills.
But can the city share that information with
Exactly, would that make it legal for him to
Yeah,
share
they
that
could
information
release
because
it
the
to
tenant has
Brad.
signed the document stating it gives him permission for that information to be released?
I thought I heard earlier that you couldn't share that information.
He did say that, but
Well,
I'm
you
asking,
can't.
we
You
can't
can't
just
I think if
willy
you sign
nilly.
the release.
But if you have a
can-
signed you have a signed
I got you.
application
Right.
from a prospective tenant stating that, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, are you signing for me? Are you agreeing that, yes, I'm gonna check on your utility history to make sure you're current, whether you were in Shelbina, South Dakota, whatever, I'm gonna send them something, and if you're not current, you're not renting from me.
I think I see what you're saying, similar to like a NECAC,
That's a reference.
customer,
Exactly.
they give the right for NECAC to call and check on their
Right.
account, yeah.
I could add that to my application,
Mhm.
not a problem, yeah.
That would be one way of legally being able to release the information to you.
Isn't that included in a normal lease
Reference
agreement,
check.
reference check? I mean, I do that for my property, I call they sign right on there, and I call to make sure any place they've listed, they pay utilities, the rent.
I've seen them both ways, it could, I mean, it's a good idea, yes, sir.
If the tenant doesn't pay their bill and is cut off, is the landlord notified?
We have been contacting landlords when,
Okay.
The utilities get, when they come in.
Especially in
and
the cold
utilities
weather.
shut off,
Yes.
We do contact the
Yeah.
landlord,
Okay.
yes.
There used to be a landlord policy down there that everybody signed, and they would tell us what they wanted us to do, whether they wanted the water turned off, or whether they wanted them read back in their name, or whether they wanted all the service, but we don't wanna use that anymore. We're calling every landlord, telling them, because half the time, he doesn't know that they've left. So
Right.
we're on the same page if we call him before we do anything. So, and we're asking them to do the same thing. If they know somebody's moving out of their property, call and let us know. So, because we ran into some electricity has been left on in houses that there's been nobody at for a while because nobody told us, so we ran up a bill in somebody's name that's not gonna pay
Right,
because we didn't know that they're gone.
right.
So
So, I
there
mean, it's-
is a landlord designation form that we have that landlords, all property owners that rent property should be filling out with contact information and agreeing to our policies, correct, ladies?
Where's that other one?
I just see reference to it. Landlords must be registered at City Hall and complete a landlord designation form. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Have you done that in the past?
I believe it was word of mouth, I mean,
Okay. So do we have such form now ready to implement then?
Oh, this is where you're gonna add the collection agency info.
It's at the bottom of page 1, where it says landlord designation form.
Landlord designation.
Uh-huh.
I don't, do you know if we have one? I've never seen one, a landlord designation form.
Uh-huh. Where you get this agreement with your landlords and all your contact information you need from your landlord, and it states that if they want the utilities automatically turned into their name when one of their tenants comes in and wants them shut off, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So maybe we
We
devise
asked
one.
them to do that.
Well, if it's listed in there, there's probably an old one somewhere, we
Yeah.
can probably find. Are you familiar with this?
Shirley normally always called me when somebody moved in.
I had them, when I was property manager for NECAC, we had them, I filled them out.
We don't, can we just make it a standard where we will call when the tenant moves out?
Don't you want something where
Yes,
landlord
I'll
comes in
put-
and signs something and he's aware of what your policies are for landlords though, and what the responsibility is? And all his contact information on file?
I would love a phone call every time that you hear that a tenant moves out, because sometimes I don't even know that they're here.
Yeah, still, and it'll state in there, a phone call will be made, I mean, I'm not saying don't do the phone call.
Especially in
but
winter time when the
Pipes could freeze, yeah. George, did you have something to add to this conversation?
Yes, in the policy, it actually has that the renter has to provide to City Hall information, some sort of documentation that they can be in that house and have utilities in their name. So maybe, or the earlier conversation about how can you tell who's doing what, and maybe the landlord needs to give, to actually sign something that says, yes, this person can have utilities in their name.
And I think, Brad, don't you,
Yeah.
they usually bring a lease contract, I thought it was yours that they usually bring up here when they come,
Yeah,
so.
I give them a copy of the contract, they bring the city.
But not
hall, we
everybody
can
does,
address
but
all.
I appreciate
Right.
See
Brad
how the
does.
confusion happens, well, word of mouth, well, no, well, so we just need to get unified here
Yeah, right.
on the expectations and everything, so.
Brad, is there a group of landlords that communicate at all? I know there's a list downstairs that you all
That-
work from,
We
I
don't
thought
even use that, it's so old.
but I didn't see like, Randy Jarman in that group that has a place, I didn't see their name on it, they've got what, 6, 8?
And, you know, this would be a good way to update those records. It was always a good reference, like when new people come in, or they're like, hey, who rents in this town? I've seen it so many times, people will come in and inquire, who can I call to see what's available to rent in Monroe City? So when you get these said forms filled out from your renters, you already have who has property in town that rents, and you can devise that on a spreadsheet as to their contact information. And on that, paper that the renters fill out, they can say, maybe they don't want everybody to know they've got something available, cause then they're gonna get a bunch of calls. They can
Right.
say, do not give my information out.
And some of them, there is some
Yeah.
from the old one on there that is, but like I said, nobody has updated that one down there for.
So this would be a good way also to get that information and get that updated then, I think.
I think so. One thing we do also want to update is our application for utilities. It is bare bones, there's nothing on it. There's nothing on it like that, if it is a tenant, there's nothing on here that.
That says if they own or they rent.
Yeah, there's nothing on here that outlines any of that. So, we're gonna do a update on that.
Okay.
Can you on that form put, like, if it's a rental, can you, if they put rent, can you put like, have a line for, like, who's the landlord? or-
Yes, that will
The
go
landlord
there.
contact, yeah.
And I would also like to add information about collection agencies on here.
Mhm.
That if we ever do send this to a collection agency, that the tenant or whoever moved out is responsible for all the, fees. So that way the city still gets to, recoup everything that they lost.
Sure.
Court fees, if we go to court, whatever, just as long as we get all our money towards our account.
So some of these old ones that are in there with that big amount, is it too late, I'm assuming, to send those to collections? So,
7 years.
We probably wouldn't have any information on them.
On where to send.
Yeah. I mean, when they fill out an application, we get a copy of their driver's license,
but they've moved around enough that they, you mean, that's what you mean?
yeah.
You wouldn't know. Well, does the collection agency, if you give them just what you do have, can they find them?
Sometimes they do,
That's what they need to do.
yeah.
I would turn over
We can,
everything.
yeah, make
possibly
the
can,
attention,
you
yeah.
know, every
Yeah.
Do we
bit.
have a collection agency policy of any sort?
No, I don't believe we do.
One thing you might wanna add to your form is get their social security number, 'cause as long as,
It's on there.
as long as you got the, that
Yep.
number, it's easier to.
Yep. That's-
Well, I mean, before, they always, turned them over to collection agencies and we would get a little bit over to Gem City.
Gem City's over here, but yeah, we haven't gotten nothing, we've sent some to them and haven't got nothing in return from them for a long time.
Yeah, we at one time discussed switching collection agencies and looked at different places.
There's another agency I know of in Quincy. I don't know, I was talking to him about it the other day. We were trying to figure out the name of it, it's like OQ or
Yeah.
Q2 or something, I can't remember what it's called, but, I know people that have had luck with that one, that hasn't changed. But if we don't have a collection policy in place, we need to work towards that too then.
But we can still turn over what we do have, right?
As long as it's not over 7 years old.
And everybody not getting their utility bills. We've all heard this, yeah, and there's still, that's why we wanna change the read dates to the 10th through the 13th. But then we wanna change billing due dates to the 15th, which is what it originally was, but we gave them the 10-day grace period before we started doing delinquent. No, now we wanna go back to the original 15th, and after the 15th, you're delinquent, and your fees are going on, and then the 25th, we're getting you off.
And we need to have something on there too that says not responsible for the postal service.
I think we also need to consider doing, pay more or something, because, they're bringing them in, if you see a postmark where it was in St. Louis, like 8 days after it was sent from up here, 8 days.
Yeah.
I
Once,
got mine the 24th and the due 25th.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't mind.
that's-
I haven't received
Everybody.
either of
Why?
mine.
once we go to front desk, it's gonna be, once we download them, if people go online and register their emails, it will be electronically sent to them, but we gotta get time to get that front
Right.
desk set up.
Right.
And then they can go and do their credit cards and their checking account, cause we won't be able to do that anymore, they'll have to do it on that side. But they will receive electronic statements, and they can go on there and check whether they want to still receive a paper one, or whether they wanna go all electronic.
Great. But we had discussed also, you were gonna switch locally to get those printed, you're waiting for an amount of how much it would cost, right, ladies?
Darren hasn't given us that.
Yeah. Changing it, because the perforated is, that's what's happening, they're coming apart, and we're only getting one piece of it, so, we're checking out a new avenue of getting those hard copies delivered safer. Yes, sir?
I've got half a bill, like you're saying, one half of the bill.
Yes.
In the last 3 months.
Yeah,
The last 2 months, I've got no bill whatsoever.
yeah, I didn't either.
The lady that was in today throwing a fit with us, she went to the post office and talked to the post office, and the post office said, it's not them, it's St. Louis, go call St. Louis.
Yeah.
Can somebody remind me why they went to making them go to St. Louis?
Cause
I've heard so many different things.
Yeah.
Lazy.
They shut down the Quincy.
Don't even want to say, I've heard so many different things.
But they were getting sorted here in-house, right, at our local post office, correct? Am I wrong on
We
that?
were sorting them.
And the new postmaster said that's not the way,
He said it has to go through a counter for them to get credit for their pay or whatever.
so it's kind of out of our hands, we tried. Yes, sir.
We got some people that, like you said, was getting their utility bill, I didn't get mine, and I know paid, and I called them several times,
Mhm.
I went ahead and paid, and they gave me a
Mm-hmm.
print out of my bill. There's people in town saying, well, I pay mine till I get my bill, and a lot of people saying, are they gonna still, if they don't pay it, are they still gonna have to pay the due date, pay the penalty, if they haven't got their bill?
Yeah,
So the people,
they're still
I
getting
I keep
utilities.
telling them, you know the bill's coming in, call my
Right.
phone, you know.
Their
but-
electricity is still on, their water's still working and everything else, and
It's CBQ services.
And you're losing money, you're all losing money, if the due date is the 20th or 25th, you're losing revenue when people don't pay on time.
Right, right.
When are y'all planning on changing that, what month?
Well, we have to wait for you guys to approve everything, and then we gotta get it wrote up, and
We wanna at least give everybody 30 days and get it out there, get all the,
the payment plan needs to go.
is that in here too?
It's been redacted.
It's on the back.
The budget
Okay, so
plan?
they're saying,
No, not the budget, the 6-month payment, we're letting everybody, that they don't even have to give us anything now. According to that policy, it says they have to give us 17%, but then if you look on one thing, it says 10%,
so we're not talking about budget billing, that is still
Right.
fine, we will do budget billing. The ladies are talking about payment plans, when they cannot pay their bill and they come in, and our thing is, I think, 6 months, they have to pay the part that they're delinquent on top of their current bill on this payment plan, and they're saying, we do away with that. The surrounding municipalities do not have payment plans.
Well, I think we were told by the auditor, we're not in the banking business.
Right, we're not a loan company, we're,
if we push that through and we give them notice that they don't have their accounts paid off by the time it goes effective,
I would
shut
say-
them off.
Well,
Won't
I'd say
we have to
anybody
honor
that has
the
a
one-
current.
Well, the
payment
people that are
plan-
on it will continue,
We'll
but
honor,
then
yeah.
within 6 months, it'll be
Within
over.
6 months,
Right.
but we would not issue any new
New
ones.
no new ones.
So we were thinking, did you all say, this is already January 24th, we start,
We were thinking
March
March
1st?
1, but,
It was in September 1.
with the mail situation and everything, I just wanna make sure customers have enough notice, you know, because this is gonna change a lot of things for people.
Well, it's definitely gonna need to be in the paper,
Mhm.
It has to be
on
paper.
Facebook, and,
Especially if we're changing the due date from the
25th.
25th to.
so you will need at least a budget cycle notice,
Yeah.
Mr. Pelker?
What's that gonna do for, the overlap on billing? Cause you're gonna stop billing and change the read meter date.
Right,
So is there gonna be somebody else is gonna ask, is there gonna be a grace period? Cause you're gonna either have a really small bill or a really big bill in between this overlap.
No,
That's
it's gonna-
happening now, isn't
It'll be
it?
about a week short for one bill, and if we get that done in the winter, I don't think it would be as noticeable for the customers, because they would be reading more of the bills around the 13th, 14th versus 19th, 20th and stuff.
Didn't they read this month already?
Yeah,
So
they're
that's already
finishing
in
it
play.
now.
I mean, if it's in play that you're already switching to meter read dates, it's kinda out of anybody's hands, but it is gonna be a complaint. It is gonna be a
what's not.
point of contention, especially
Mm-hmm.
with,
Yes.
what has happened in the past. 'Cause it's gonna give somebody a short bill,
right.
and then the next bill's gonna be larger, and they're gonna be asking questions.
Well, the next bill won't be any longer period.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
Are
okay,
you sure?
yeah.
So there's no overlap when you switch, because usually when you switch a billing period, one billing period gets cut short, and the very next one is gonna be longer.
No.
It's
It'll be
exactly
the-
like when you go from weekly to bi-weekly pay at an employment agency or anything like that. There's always an overlap somewhere. You can't just switch from reading on this date and then starting to read earlier or later and not have some kind of difference in
Yeah,
one of
one
those
bill
months.
being
You
We're
can't-
short.
creating
Yeah.
one bill that will be it'll be shorter than 1 month, and that's it. The next billing cycle, it would be the complete full month.
Okay.
Oh, and then two, I was gonna bring up, some people still aren't aware of the ion water, the put on your phone or whatever for your usage.
And I have put out there
Didn't we put that out there?
myself at least 4
In
times.
the newsletter too,
Mhm.
that went out from the city, wasn't that in there?
I don't, was that included on the city, I don't know about that.
I don't know if
So, I have found a new PDF for that, so it's much clearer.
Okay.
It's a one pager and you can follow, it has step 1, 2, it has the circles of 1, 2, 3, 4, so George and I worked on that this week.
Okay.
And so,
Say maybe
Does anybody
put
ask me
this
what I'm
policy
saying?
in the paper now.
Oh, okay, here you go, back there.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So, they were asking about ion water.
Yeah.
So George and I worked this week on the document that we had been giving out was faded, half of the information was on there, it wasn't really good instructions, and we found a much better, clearer, step-by-step ion water.
Okay.
So that's it's a one
Well, see,
pager,
they
it's very
pay
clear,
the
so that
senior
way we
housing
can
pays
actually
the utilities.
do
Utilities
put that out there,
approve
take a
it.
snapshot of it, or put it on the Facebook page,
They
it's
don't
much
pay the
easier
utility.
to follow,
I was thinking
so,
about
yeah.
even some of the other senior
That's what she was
members of the
asking.
community that might not understand all of this or
And
be
maybe we
as,
could have a day sometime where they come up here like they do at the nutrition center for things.
that's what I was thinking. See if we couldn't help navigate through some of that.
George?
Just going back to you were talking about taking the payment plan away. What happens if somebody has a huge water leak, a $10,000 bill? Are you gonna make them pay that $10,000 bill right now? Or are you gonna give them 6 months?
What's out of curiosity, what's Canton's protocol?
They still have a 6-month payment program. You
For
can have,
for
you can do,
everybody?
yeah, you can do 1 a year, and if you break it, you can never do another one.
I would say with each individual case, that would have to be presented to council as
Yeah,
to how they're gonna
A
address it.
big water
anyhow.
leak, yeah, they could always come to the council.
I think it's in that one ordinance, I think it is, there is something about that.
That's
It's in
why
the
that
dispute.
IF water is a good idea,
Uh-huh.
because just recently I had somebody,
Mine's been telling me all through that cold spell that I had a leak because I had all my faucets stripping.
Yeah.
That means it's working.
Yeah, it's
I
right.
exceeded my,
During the cold snap, we were watching that every day, and any leak over 20 gallons a day, we were actually going out and notifying the people, so. And there were some big ones, and they caught them.
Good, got them quick.
fantastic.
Before it comes a problem.
See, that's, yeah.
On a evening or on a Saturday.
Any other questions, council, in looking through these, utility collection policies?
I did have, I wanna mention a couple of things too about the
Okay.
budget payment plan.
Yep.
I mean, I do wanna keep that, of course. I would, with our program that we use, it will figure everything for the budget for the customers. If we could start using the previous 12-month average for the customers, to start on their budget bill. Right now, I don't know how it's figured.
I think that's how Jackie did it.
Okay.
She did a 12-month average and then she increased it by 5% to cover the cost.
Okay.
That's how Jackie explained it to me that she did it.
Okay. And then, there'll be 2 months out of the year for budget customers where there'll be a water primacy fee and a sewer primacy fee. That's always, I mean, that's unavoidable. Sometimes our budget customers don't understand that when that comes around. But, I would wanna put that, of course, on the new budget agreement. Let's see. I'd like to, let's see, that it looks like the budget year goes from October to September, is that right? Okay. Okay. Right, and if the budget person, of course, doesn't pay their full budget amount by the due date, then they would automatically come off budget, that would be part of their budget agreement as well.
Okay.
And that, I believe that's
I
probably
think it's
something
in
that's
the
already in
contract
the
that they're not
contract.
supposed to miss any payment.
Okay, we'll make sure it is.
At the end of their budget year, if the utility account has a balance, that balance, I'd like to see it just factored into the new budget year for that
So
customer.
It would be decreased for the next
Yes.
year because they had,
Correct.
I think that's how she does it now.
yeah.
Yeah, cause sometimes she kicks people off.
Well, they have to, I thought they had to settle up if they, like if they have,
Well, yeah, you're talking about if they owe money.
and
You're talking
same
about
thing, if
credit.
they owe money, I want to factor that into the new budget here too.
Fair question.
I can speak from experience, my budget bill, my personal residence was the same for the last couple of years, and then it jumped up $80 a month, and I talked to Jackie about that, and she said what it is, I had an outstanding balance of like $700. So she divided that over 6 months, and then added that to my budget. So after 6 months, I'm gonna be back to current, and then at the end of next year, then they're gonna revise it or relook at it.
I think she divided that by 12 months and
I
that's.
thought it was 6.
No, I think it's in your
The
12
entire
months.
year, I think is what it would
Well,
go on.
anyway, that's the way she explained it to me.
Cause some people choose to go on and pay that balance, cause they don't wanna mess with their budget, so some people ask, can we go on and just square up, and then, so you don't jack my payment up? So some people did do that this year too, so I mean, that's always an option for them.
We need to talk about, go ahead, Mr. Falcon.
I'm sorry, I keep asking
That's
questions.
okay.
So revising the, payment schedule, the meter reading, all that other stuff, is there gonna be a revision to the, notification of shut off?
Okay.
Is that, I didn't hear anybody address that, and how we're gonna start notifying for
It's
shut off?
gonna be an automatic, if it's not paid by the 15th, after the 25th, it's.
The 15th, after the
Done.
15th, the late fee goes on, the 25th, you're getting cut off, cause right now, the rule is
So you'll have-
it's 2 Mondays after the first Friday, so there's no set date.
Okay.
So that's what's bad for our guys, so. And we don't wanna go around and put notices on people's doors, no other towns do that, it's on your
So
bill,
there's
that
gonna be
you
no
do.
notification?
It will be on your bill
It's gonna be on the
stating,
bill.
late fee after this date, shut off after this date.
Right.
Or at 9 AM on this,
Their bill will be considered their delinquent notice.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Stamps are 68 cents a piece, so do we wanna mail them out, or do we get our guys to go out and tape them on a door, which they got other jobs they should be doing, so, I mean, if we put it on the bill that this is considered a notice like other towns, then we don't have to do that.
The only problem is if we've got people not getting their bills, then are they gonna hold that against us?
Well, they should know
They
it's
should
not,
call.
it's,
Well, with the new
Well-
information though, is what she's saying.
And that could go in the newspaper
It could
as
go in the
well.
newspaper, it could be broadcasted
And hopefully we get the bills sent out on different form, not on this perforated cardstock that falls apart.
Ours in Shelbina are perforated at the top and bottom, like 3/4 of it's one side and then one side was the bottom, so I mean.
So we'll hear from, touch base with, David at A&S tomorrow and see where he's at with that. And the only thing else, yes,
I know, I've heard some people saying that without giving an official disconnect notice, they're not able to get any help.
correct.
Would that serve as a
They can-
disconnect notice?
The bill should serve as their disconnect. If not, I do have a form in the office that they can come, get.
Okay,
Yeah, and they're really good about that. We had several people that will, you know, NECAC is requiring that official disconnect notice or they
Right.
can't help me, and they get it right to them, yeah.
cool.
I also see on here, sewer savers.
Yes. What's everyone's opinion on the sewer savers? We are losing money on the sewer savers.
Wow.
can you
They
explain
don't
the
charge
costs?
enough, at the beginning for them. It's my understanding these sewer savers cost $100
Yeah.
or so.
But that's what you're charging is $100, right?
That's what you're charging now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're charging roughly what the cost of them are, yeah.
okay. It
So
was my
we're
understanding we were
saving-
losing money on the sewer savers.
I've had mine for 20 years.
So we need to look and make sure what our cost is versus what we're charging the customers on the sewer savers then.
And you're losing out on a lot of money on the sewer.
How? Oh, cause it's not going through the sewer, but in all fairness,
It's not going through the sewer.
it's not a service they're utilizing, the water isn't going through the
Water
sewer.
not going through the sewers, so why should you get have to pay for it?
My thought on it is, because I've had a couple people approach me on it, and I see what you're saying, but the majority of the people that have the sewer savers, I believe, are ones that are watering their gardens.
Yep.
Filling up
The
the
few
pools.
swimming pools, which it probably isn't that many, or their lawns, and most of those are the yard of the months, and It's the people who really put forth the effort
Beautification.
to make it right. So if we can reevaluate, if it's a cost, if we can reevaluate it to where we at least aren't losing money, I would like to see a way that we can keep that in place.
Yeah, I'll do some checking on our cost versus what we charge.
Cause you said it costs upwards now of what, 125 to 150 to make one of those? And we don't even have any extra, right?
Right, there are notes, so I have to order them, so I've been waiting to hear what, if you're gonna continue the project or not, before I order anything, so.
How many do we have?
Oh, as far as how many, I
Just in general, how many
made,
people do we have on that?
I made like 36 last year, or right before Chris left, and they're gone.
So George, would you be able to get,
I can get
prices
you pricing, yes, ma'am.
by the next meeting and then we can
Yeah,
have all
that'll
that?
not be a problem.
I was thinking about, my mom and them had one in their town where they lived, and they put more effort into keeping their little corner lot just stellar, and they were known for that, and it made that whole street look beautiful, and it encouraged everybody else. And that was the only benefit that they really took advantage of. And I don't think it was that much, but their utilities aren't as much as ours.
Yeah.
But if it's, and I was thinking about the garden, the food. What's her name?
Whitney.
Thank you, Whitney's.
Yeah, if she had to pay, yeah, using all
She would
that
have
to
no
do
profit.
her beautiful big garden and sell her produce,
Don't go out of business.
I can see both sides, so maybe more information on the cost and how we can make it more cost effective for the city. If we need to up the price, we charge for the sewer saver to keep it going, whatever,
It's a whole process, so we gotta figure out a different way of keeping up with those and getting the readings and getting them put on everybody's bill and all that, cause it's not an easy task, I mean.
We'll get a system.
What do you gotta put on the bill? The
Yeah,
discount, the
You
discount.
have to get the
read-
credit, but you gotta go back down and you
You
gotta
read them
go
once
through
a
that.
year.
Communicate on with
Yes.
Laura.
That's it.
And then like last year, and everybody wants us to send them a letter
Oh.
and tell them, hey, you need to bring it in. I mean, there again, 68 cents to send them a letter, so then they tell us, oh, we don't know.
It's usually about
Well, we could
15,
probably put a
17
note on
cents.
the utility bill telling them to turn in sewer savers by whatever it is.
Sewer saver meter size just that time. Put those two together at the same time.
Well, not,
So it sounds like a little more research into how we can make this policy run smoother, and Jackie's been doing it since 1999, and she's probably your guru on
Yeah.
that.
She said it was even started before her.
Yeah,
They were-
okay.
We found it down there in like the 80s, we found that little copy, because they originally started out at $60.
All right, we'll move on from here then. Ladies, do you have anything else? Okay.
Where does Shelbana send their bills? You know,
They go to St. Louis now too.
do they have that problem, or do you don't have?
Some days, I mean, like I had mine the first of the month, but then my dad didn't get his till the following week, and he just lives across town, so I mean, but they're not getting tore up. I mean, I've never received one not tore up. Now there was one month I didn't get one at all, and I had to call up there and get my balance, but, I mean, they're going through St. Louis too.
Ours come apart really.
But that's the only thing is, and I think we ordered some from, like, because we called Janice and got where she ordered from, and I think they're down there on the shelf. We would have to double check, but I think we got them where they're perforated different.
Maybe we could start trying those.
So you gotta get G-Works to format it different, so.
Yeah, we bought this Shelby.
Ladies, do you have anything else?
One
Yes,
more thing,
okay.
real quick, regarding return checks or return payments. I don't know if there's a policy in the city for return checks or payments. Does anyone know about that?
And the easy answer is call the prosecutor.
Do they ever turn anything in?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to see, is that when we get notice of a return check or a returned ACH or something like that, that they, because the customer already is aware that this has been returned, I mean, they know before we know, that they have 24 hours to pay or they get shut off.
Okay.
I wasn't sure about a return check fee, I think is it a $20 fee? I think it's $20.
At least 20, I mean, a lot of places went up to
Like,
$30.
with the Alliant Bank, it's $34 now per return check.
You wanna keep it at 20, or we want to?
Increase it, maybe make them.
$30.
30, 35?
Cause I was thinking Chris told us, Chris told me at, F&M it was 34 too.
Okay,
35.
got it, yep.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all.
So what is our goal here? When do we want this to get in the paper, when do we want this implemented? Have we-
Well,
With the changes?
yeah,
Yes.
me and Phoebe will take back the feedback from you guys, and we're gonna have to, of course,
Okay.
make some edits and changes, and get those out to you,
So next council meeting?
next council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, cause
This Saturday, we're working on utility.
ordinance wise, is there any changes we need
But
ordinance
if
wise?
we're pretty good on this final draft, I can go ahead and make the changes to the ordinances and get it voted on.
The only thing that was in question, I do believe, was the sewer savers. Is that right?
Yeah, and we'll have more information on that next time, and they wouldn't even be part of the collection policy.
Well, I think the general consensus was we want to keep the sewer savers, so the only thing we need to decide on is cost.
Right.
So if we're charging $100 for a sewer saver, and George, what were you saying approximately the cost is?
It'll be at or over $100, so there's, and then one thing we have to start doing though is that the city halls let people bring them back, and they give them one whenever it breaks. And the
Okay.
reason it breaks is because they don't take care of it, or when they don't drain it like it's supposed to be
Okay.
drained. So, it'll freeze, it'll break, and then they bring it back, and then they just get a new one. So then now you've given them $200 worth of sewer savers, and
Right,
they won't
okay.
pay for
How
So
long
in
does
that-
it take you to make one?
Once I get all the couplers, I can knock out like 30 of them in 10 minutes. All it is just screwing stuff together. It's no big deal, it's just getting everything purchased.
So when they come in and they sign an agreement and get the sewer saver, does it state in there that they are responsible for damage incurred?
It does say that
It
on
already
there,
says
yes.
that, okay,
We're
so
not
it just needs to
charging.
be an implementation thing then,
Yeah,
So we-
exactly, yeah.
okay?
So it needs to be an amount that if you break, if you damage it from freezing, from not draining it properly, that you will be charged
You have to pay for
X
a new
amount, yeah,
It's just a new one, just
Right.
get them a new one.
yeah.
one. Okay, so,
So really, I mean, if we wanna keep the sewer savers, I mean, you all could just go ahead and,
up
make
the
the
price
motion
to
approving it.
$150 for a sewer
Let me
saver?
check on prices.
Okay.
Okay,
Do we wanna say approve the policy provisions with the exception of waiting until we get a price for the? you're
We
shaking
gotta
your
make
head no.
the changes and write it up clean.
yeah, yeah.
All right, next meeting then.
I
All right.
think so too. Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on, rural fire. He's not here this evening? Okay, we'll move on. MA Bank. I think this discussion was, we had an account at Macon Atlanta Bank, and that account was just specified for monies to be sitting there for, bond insurance on a, previous employee who is no longer with us. So though, that money's sitting there, which is $150,000, needs to be, that account needs to be closed since that employee is no longer with us, and put back into our general fund at F&M and close that account, just to get everything in one place, and it's not, that account is not necessary anymore. So, do you have anything to add to that before I ask for a motion? So I was either.
Motion.
Who's on the account?
Melissa, Jason, and myself.
On making it lane, I never
Yes.
signed anything for making it lane.
Long time ago. when I
Long time
first
ago.
started.
I did F&M.
No, we did make it Atlanta, a long time ago.
I got your signatures to the card.
Okay.
Or Jason.
I remember 'cause I was the one that tracked you down to get the signature. That's why I'm just, yeah. So could I,
Motion.
council?
Motion.
All right, I have a motion, Alderman Greening, and a second from Alderman Watkins to, close the account at Macon Atlanta and transfer those funds to the general fund at F&M Bank. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
So F&M then will be the only place where we have.
Yes, sir.
So you have access to that,
Mhm.
right?
Had there ever been any transactions on the Macon Atlanta account?
I had to, because it had gone a year without any transactions, they send you the notification that they're gonna close your account or, you need to figure out what to do with it. So I took $5 from petty cash, went over, so it's actually $150,005.
But we never wrote a check or anything?
No,
Okay.
we've never touched it.
Cause the specifications was it was only to be used for for the bond.
Yeah, and it's
For her
set
to
up,
have bond insurance.
Could
it's
that money have covered that other debacle with the previous city clerk,
For bonding insurance.
for bonding or her insurance?
I'll have to double check. I mean, we got some money from insurance on that.
So it would have been basically using our own money.
Yeah,
You got 50,000.
do we get 50?
but that's what it was for,
Yeah.
you know, it was just curiosity more than anything.
So on the F&M bank, is everybody, are the names on that account current, cause there's a
Yeah.
former employee on
Nope,
there?
they're all
So-
correct.
Alright.
Melissa, Jason, Tamitha, and Jennifer.
That was done last week. I went out
They're
there.
done, completed.
All right, any other questions, council? We will move on then. Next on the agenda is the change order number 18, for the sewer project. Yeah.
I got a clear, document for you, it's really clear.
Okay,
The
good.
amount that you saw, which is 301, he did an adjustment from the 500,000 that you all approved down to 301. Now that we're at the end of the, process.
Uh-huh.
So they, Shauna and him and Mark have been going back and forth all week, trying to figure out what the grand total was. So you have his email showing you how it was corrected. The one thing I did catch is that he did not change the date from the original one that you all had, approved. But the grand total is 326, not the 500 that you all had approved. So this is the one that I need to have approved.
So for clarification, this is the final payment on the wastewater project.
Yes.
Is there enough money to cover that?
Yes, yes, that's why they were going back and forth, double checking all invoices, all the way back from its inception. And so that's what the additional, paperwork is that you see, where they had actually been going back and forth, to make sure all those invoices clear back to 2017 have been checked off.
Did that include the $20,000 credit for engineering?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is it very often an engineer admits that they didn't charge,
Thank you.
or they overcharged you by $20,000?
So where would we see that? They could have used a little bigger font, geez.
I don't know.
I think they don't want you to see it. Okay, maybe on this here.
Well, there was 10,000 on concrete.
If you don't mind, I'd rather ask Mark directly where to locate it, or, cause he may have taken it from different components.
Okay.
And I'll send you an email on that, just to make sure.
Okay,
But didn't you have to have that all approved tonight in order to close out the loan? Cause it has, Sean said it had to be closed out.
Yeah.
Genuine.
To January 30th, yes, John's right, January 31st, to the 31st. And Sean and I are to meet tomorrow to
Last
double
meeting
check.
you'll
This is the
have-
last meeting.
This is the last meeting, but,
Right,
yeah,
so
Sean and I
they-
will finalize everything tomorrow.
Will they be able to,
Here it is, it's on
Did you find it?
the 7-3, overpaid $26,362.26. Is that it?
What page are you on, Adrian? Oh, yeah, okay, so it's in his notes.
It's
I was looking at the actual document.
Page 4.
So it's 2 pages back from cleaners. Correct? Yeah, about a fourth of the way down the top of the page. At the very
See
top,
it.
do you see it now?
Overpaid.
Yeah, 26,000. So yeah, do that.
So, and then the additional monies that we haven't spent yet, how is that coming back to the city? Have you figured that out yet?
No, Shauna and I were talking about, that's why I say Shauna wants to, she wanted,
Okay.
cause there was too much, there was that 17 emails going back and forth between her and Mark all
Right.
week. And I was like, when you.
So
all-
how do we know what's left
That's what I'll get.
that we
from Shauna
haven't used?
tomorrow.
Okay,
That's what he was just asking.
Yeah, that's what I was
wanna
asking.
make sure with Shauna.
okay.
So I just have with
So
Shauna.
this falls under old business.
Does that have to be used, or at least said how it's gonna be used by January, into January as
That's the
well?
way that's kind of what I understood.
Okay.
But
Right.
what you had was you had the property that was purchased.
Yes,
And so, which is a large amount. So if whatever grant funds are left, you could actually say, okay, we're gonna bring it back into the city to cover the purchase of the property. And then then you could use it however you wanted to after you brought it back to the city. City, you just don't want to not claim all of your grant money. Cause I know we had talked about the fence in the past along the bottom side, and it never really went anywhere, cause Mark kept on saying it didn't have to happen. DNR, they were here, I talked to them, they said, you have to have a fence.
Okay.
So we are having to put a fence in, so I'm hoping that the additional money we'll be able to use for the fence to get that done.
and I think we had this conversation, was it not back in September, October, we were talking about when we get to the end and we have the extra money, that we would go ahead and bring it down so that we could figure out, is there any added additional items that you
Right.
wanted, or do we put it back for the property, but go ahead and pull it down. So you've already had this conversation that we will pull it down for sure.
Okay,
And we at that time, we were talking about 30,000.
Yeah,
Is roughing. But Sean and I wanna make sure, after them going back and forth with all of the email conversation and him changing it drastically from 500,000 that you all approved down to 300,000, I mean, the difference.
yeah.
Exactly, that's why I wanted to talk to Shauna to make sure, but that 30 is what we had talked about earlier in the fall,
Okay, so
so.
what I need is a motion to approve the corrected final amount to be paid to Martin GC in $301,649.75.
so moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. What about number 2 on this email, corrected final amount to be paid to Klinger, $8,770.33, what?
That's, yeah, their engineering fees, that's the final, after they were back and forth.
So that's included in that 301,649?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that
Okay,
wasn't
yes,
in
sir.
addition
No,
to.
yeah, that's why
It's on this invoice
It's
here.
in that invoice, just like with the last one.
Gotcha, I see it, thank you.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Isn't it an additional amount, huh?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it's on the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's at 326, 318.
right.
That should be what paid.
And then what, yeah. And then the equipment's another line.
Yeah,
Okay, so I need a motion to redact that last motion and a new one. Cause we gotta change the amount.
We got that last
Well, the
motion.
first, you can.
Or another
move for
motion
each
to
amount.
approve, okay,
Yeah.
or motion to approve the engineering fees.
And equipment costs.
what you need to approve is the $326,818.81. The invoice, the estimate of funds is needed, is what you need to approve.
Okay,
No,
I read
plus,
it off the email.
It encompasses
My
it.
apologies, that was my error. So, motion, let's just.
well, does the equipment need to have 500 added onto it? Or does that include the 500?
I think that is, he raised it from the last time, 500. So the equipment, right now, this line item is $16,398.73. On the previous one, from the last one was $500 less, that's what he's saying. I have to
Okay.
go upstairs and get one.
So I have a motion by Alderman, did you make that? Saunders, okay. Saunders to redact the previous motion of $301,649.75 to be paid to, Martin. So do I have a second? All those in favor? Alright, motion approved. Previous motion redacted, new motion for the correct amount.
Motion to $326,801,818.81.
Alright,
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the final payment of $326,818.81 to Martin, Martin C. Ross. $326,818.81, my gosh, 81 cents. Motion and, did I get a second on that?
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Good lord. Okay, old business. The alleyway abandonment to Holy Rosary.
So yeah, I don't know why that's on the agenda. I mean, I've talked to the attorneys. I mean, the way this proceeds is if a party wants to abandon an alley, they submit a proposal to the city, and then the city votes on it. So they're gonna get a proposal, they're gonna pay for the description they want, the legal description, and then they're gonna propose that to the city, and then we'll proceed accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
I have a few things on the business.
Gotcha.
Timothy, did you get the email sent out to the employees about that they report to their, or did they notify their supervisor an hour in advance that they're gonna be late and all that good stuff?
I have talked, I actually have had, meetings with the department leaders. We've gone over that, we've gone over payroll, we've gone over, how, they will do, performance evaluations and reviews, so yes, I have.
Okay, and then did you let them know that all discrepancies come to the admin
Yes.
committee in email? Okay.
Yes, I did.
And then are we getting closer on the getting that, we talked about, cause we've been having trouble with these Yahoo accounts and stuff with all that. Or how's that coming, cause we've talked about having, email, or there's a need for us to have .org email accounts.
We can do the .org when we switch over to the new website.
And when,
Well, it would be .org, be .gov, sorry.
Okay,
Not
.gov.
Sorry, yes.
And that includes an accounts receivable, accounts payable.
We already have those set up. Those are already coming in. Emails are coming into AP.
how's the sign in, sign out, are we doing that with the employees, and is it effective? I know we talked about that during administrative meetings. Okay.
Yeah, I got clarification and didn't try to have everybody
Oh,
sign.
okay. And then we talked about during the meeting, you had, talked about, somebody coming in to organize the downstairs files.
Yes,
Is that already started?
Jennifer has reached out to the person, with MPUA, and as soon as we get situated down there where it is something that we can have time to start working on, she's ready. So, we're just trying to, we've prioritized, and, you know, first and foremost, we're trying to make sure the audit gets complete and then our budget. So after that, we will start cleaning up down there, which part of that process is getting everything properly filed.
Utilize Alex on.
Yes. Mhm.
Mr. Snyder has some questions.
Yes.
Did we ever get clarification from US Cellular about that bill? About how many lines and all that?
Well, part of the lines are internet, so the lines are not necessarily all phone lines.
Right, but did we get a breakdown of what
Yes.
each one is costing?
Each bill always has a breakdown of each department. And some of those are like the interceptor, or some of the, internets within PD, in their cars, and that kind of thing, but I think their grand total is there's 37 between Sheridan Valley and.
Are we getting raked over the coals on the overreaches on the data for the hotspots?
Not that I know of.
Cause I know it has switched to not unlimited data on that.
I think they have unlimited data. Do you guys type PD?
That's what we were told when we got.
Yeah, as far as I know, they have unlimited data.
Oh, I thought they had lost that.
No,
Okay.
as far as I know, they don't. I'll check it. Yeah. The last one, the last bill, I remember seeing unlimited data, so I'm pretty sure it's still there.
Okay.
Okay. New business. Anything else, council and old business that you'd like to bring up? Any questions?
Did we get the liquor licenses sent out that we approved last time?
They're not sent out yet, but they will be, they'll actually be delivered, not necessarily sent out, by Monday.
I have a question, one of the businesses asked about their, business license. They said they never got their business license.
That is also, will be sent out, either tomorrow or Monday.
And some of those have already been delivered to several of the businesses. We've started delivering those, hand delivering those, knowing that things go to St. Louis and back.
And that might be something that I could do next week after school, so that you all aren't taken away from your duties.
Oh, okay.
And that they don't have to go to St. Louis and they
Yeah.
can get them.
Yeah, that's why we've hand delivered
I
them.
guess you,
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we at on the reports or the information the auditor needed? They was trying to get that together last week. Are we closer to that?
Yes.
So that he has it now?
Steve Connolly has everything he needs to do his part, and actually, I visited with Tamitha and Jennifer and Alex last week, and we devised some goals and some actual dates to hit those goals. And I reviewed them with our auditor, and I said, is February 22nd a realistic goal to have a completed audit? He said, yes, as long as, we can get him everything he needs to do his job. He sees no problem with us having a complete audit by February 22nd.
So we've given him everything that
Yes,
he
he
needs.
has everything he
from us
needs.
is with him now.
Yep.
Thank you.
And also, the next date that we kind of put as a goal is 2 weeks after that, which is March, what was the date, ladies? 7th, which will be our first council meeting in March. We hope to have, our goal is to have a budget to approve at the March 7th council meeting for 2024. So,
Okay.
alright,
Timelines are set.
timelines are set.
Good.
Okay, let's see. I would like to bring something up for discussion. I talked to Gary Osborne. We've had a lot of discussions about the relationship, the proper relationship that the city can have with nonprofits and supporting their efforts in Monroe City, such as DTMC and the Chamber, who do a lot of wonderful things for our community. And it's important to be able to support their efforts, and at the same time, we have to be cognizant that we are in control and responsible for taxpayers' dollars. So there has to be a procedure that we follow, that's legal. Gary Osborne had mentioned that several years ago, I don't know when, a certain percentage of business license revenue that was collected was given to the chamber. That is a legal way to be able to support the chamber, Monroe City Chamber, with business license. The revenue that we generally collect, but now I'm talking business license, not liquor license, is about $3,750. So not a large amount. So I was wondering if it could be discussed that that be our relationship with the Monroe City Chamber, that we be able to give them 70, we share that business license revenue of maybe 70% with them, and that be our support with the chamber.
I thought one time we discussed letting them just completely take it over and they were responsible for all the footwork and everything from that.
Well, we can't really do that. We still have to have it funneled through the city because of, if they don't pay their business license, who sends out the notices, so we still have to have,
So we're still
we still have to play a part in that transaction, yeah.
any problem with that, John?
Let me look into it and get back, cause I mean, do some research and let everybody know.
Cause it's not tax monies, it's
Yeah,
a business
but-
license fee.
But we're required, if they don't pay it, they're not allowed to do business, so, I mean, it is a tax,
It's tax money.
Okay,
yeah.
alright, so maybe check into that and see if that's legally something we can do to support, and then we'll continue the conversation at the next meeting about it. So. Next thing, we need to get our city clerk sworn in, Jennifer.
Over here, yes, ma'am.
Raise your right hand. Jennifer, you've been appointed to the office of city clerk of the city of Monroe City. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Missouri and the provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of this class and the ordinances of the city of Monroe City, and faithfully demean yourself while in office? And do you further swear or affirm that you possess all the qualifications prescribed by law or the ordinances of the city for the office to which you have been appointed?
Yes, I do.
As mayor, I officially appoint Jennifer McDaniel as the city clerk. As mayor of Monroe City, I accept the oath of Jennifer McDaniel as city clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, also, I would like to pass on some information. On February 15th at 10 a.m., Doug Buey with the State of Missouri Department of Public Safety, Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Control, what a title, will be putting on a conference for businesses to attend. So Doug Buey will be here on February 15th at 10 a.m. if anybody would like to come and get some information on Division of Alcohol Safety and for our businesses, so. Okay.
What's the location?
In this room right here, I believe is where it's gonna be held.
Okay.
Okay, council chambers. February 15th, 10 a.m., council chambers. Mr. Doug Buey. City administrators report.
Have been working on getting our certificate of candidacy for nomination to all the counties, making sure that they have a copy of the ballot and who's running for which position in wards, and clarifying with them further again the boundaries in regards to the ordinance that John coordinated and you all passed, trying to get that done. So we have got all of the counties notified, and so they'll be producing a sample ballot for us, and then we'll be moving on to put that in the paper and getting that prepared. Working with Metalcraft in regards to their outstanding balance. They have been continuing to pay their promissory note amount on a regular basis every Friday. They've paid an extra couple of those. I did send them an email, which you all have a copy of the email that was in there, in regards to indicating to them that their December bill was still outstanding, and that upon the degrees of 32 degrees, if they hadn't paid their final amount for their December bill, that they would be disconnected after a 24-hour period. They did pay, so December is paid up in full. They did wire $20,000 toward that, so their whole entire December is paid. Their January, as of a while ago, that's why I went downstairs. I have not received a wire for the January payment that was due today on the 25th. So we will, I will send another email tomorrow morning, updating them in regards to, again, requesting that they pay at least $25 on every Tuesday. Friday is the promissory note, or they need to, and I actually, in the email, if you read it, I told them that it's time for them to go get a business loan and pay us.
You said $25, you mean more than?
25,000,
Okay.
sorry, 25,000, sorry about that.
It's in the email.
It's in the email. 25,000, which would put them on the track of about 75,000, which is pretty much running what their average is, which would only give them a couple of thousand that they would have to pay on the dates of the actual due date if they would get on that process. but I was very clear that in the final, paragraph that it was time for them to go deal with the bank as opposed to dealing with us. The email tomorrow will also notify them that, again, if their, January bill is not paid in full by February 12th, then it will be disconnected. That would be the same concept that we would do for every other.
So for their December bill, they paid the 25,951.
Yes. They have paid everything. It was a grand total of, well, they paid, yeah, cause they paid the 20 on 1/18 and they paid the 5/9/51/26 on 1/23. So they have paid all of December. I verified that.
In addition to their payment.
In addition to their payment plan.
So what is your average monthly bill run?
About 75 to 80 on roughing. Sometimes it's 76, sometimes 74. It hovers right around that 75. So that's why if you can get them on that 25 every Tuesday, and I did Tuesday deliberately knowing that Mondays can be a holiday and banks would be closed, so asking for that Tuesday is why I picked Tuesday. So if you were questioning why I didn't say Monday or Friday, that's why I picked Tuesday.
So their payment plan was set up on 6 months?
I don't remember off the top of my head on their, what their new.
18 months. Theirs was an 18 month. I do remember that. Yes. So. Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Tana, did you, update, the board on what the amount in arrears is?
Yes, it's in the email. Yes, I did.
What is that?
Their grand total that was outstanding when I sent this email as of the 18th was $578,439.53.
But as of today,
But as of today, deduct the $5,951.26.
add 25,000 to that?
No, deduct.
Oh, deduct
Oh,
25,000.
well, and then as of tomorrow morning, you will take a percentage based on the penalty and add to that.
Okay.
Ronnie?
I apologize, do we know what the total, amount is on what they agreed to pay versus what they have paid for the duration of the contract? So they're not current with what they agreed to repay. Is that fair to say?
In the promissory
Because
note,
they started out $340,000 in arrears. And they were supposed to stay current every month and pay so much more every month.
right,
So they should be current in less than 340. But they're obviously not, because they're at 578. So they are significantly behind. Have we asked them to go get an operating loan from a financial institution and make us whole?
that's what I just said. In the
Good.
bottom paragraph, I said, Metalcraft's total is outstanding. I would strongly recommend that you consider obtaining a business loan and paying the city the full amount of the outstanding bill,
Have you
period.
suggested to them what will happen if they do not?
Yes. I go on to say that you will be cut off at the plant.
On February 12th,
Huh?
on February 12th.
Not February 12th, because this was prior to the 75,000 that they needed to pay for today, January 25th.
So I understand Mr. Miller's question, this 578,000 should be significantly less.
Yeah.
We're paying their arrears amount like this.
Right.
Okay. So then we can,
So-
go ahead.
That's okay, I'm butting in on you as well, so
So
go ahead.
they've already defaulted.
They're paying the promissory note in regards to their interpretation that they only have to pay 5,000.
What?
5,000 per week, which totals them to basically 20,000 a month.
But it's not catching
Against
them
the
up.
300, it's not catching them up.
They're getting farther behind.
Huh?
Mr. Miller?
They're farther behind.
They're further behind,
I apologize.
because the penalties are
Right.
impacting.
For 2 months, they did not pay their current bill at all.
So that is why it's not,
That is how they got to
They're not
500 and
chipping
some
away.
thousands.
And then we had to have another conversation saying, hey, that promissory note is just like everybody else, you pay that in addition to your monthly payment.
So then they started that process for me.
So we got off, it got off,
They're dragging their feet.
yeah.
Yeah, so I made it very clear that, okay, this is what I need for December, but I would suggest that you need to go on the $25 every Tuesday to get you paid, but you still have, and you need to start that, but you have until the 25th to pay the January one, or penalties go on, and then we start the process of disconnecting you.
So they didn't, did they did
didn't
or
pay
did
as of
not pay today?
When I went back downstairs and checked a while ago.
So if they don't pay, when do we start disconnect procedure?
So if they don't pay, and I know per our policy that it would be February 14th, but since they're in default of an already payment plan, then we don't have to wait till February 14th, correct, attorney? Because they're in default of a payment plan, and per said policy, when you default a payment plan, you're disconnected.
Yeah, but if you disconnect them, you're gonna, you're not gonna
Get
get
no money
money
at
at
all.
all, and their pots are gonna freeze, so you need to give them notice. I mean, I've said that for a long time.
Right, and I agree, notice should be given, they have to shut down properly.
Right, give them 2 days
They issued a
notice.
24-hour notice, and they issued a large payment like that. She's gonna issue another 24-hour notice, in which we expect another payment to be issued just as soon as they get the
That's what
warning.
I'm saying.
Pastor?
How do we talk to these people? Is it by phone?
No.
We ever had to sit down with them?
I have, a couple months ago, or maybe just, it's been a couple months, I went to their office and spoke, with Mr. Dimmitt, Al Dimmitt.
And Dana came in my office last week when, right before I said this. So yeah, they come in.
Can I backtrack with the ladies and ask about, budget billing and the businesses that we have on budget billing? Budget billing, not this,
Not payment plan.
not payment plan, budget billing. How many businesses do you think we have?
I think, are you asking me?
Or anybody who can answer?
I think there's just that one.
Is not this one.
On the budget?
No,
The one down the road.
down the road.
The
Yes.
one that's down the road that's also
Yes,
in arrears?
yeah,
Um,
11,900 and something.
In our policy, and I'm just gonna ask because I don't remember, does the payment, businesses aren't included in that, are they?
It's up to you guys, I mean, if you want them to be able to do a budget billing,
Yeah, no,
okay.
no. And that one business is significantly behind.
They're behind, they should be
But they're not paying.
They're on a payment plan and a budget billing.
They have
And they
budget
default.
billing and they're on a payment plan?
I don't think they're on a payment
They're
plan.
not on a
Payment plan, no, they're on.
They're not on a payment, they just haven't paid.
Yeah, there's been,
Right.
they haven't paid.
They have just refused to pay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a simple answer.
I would make a suggestion that that the budget billing doesn't apply to businesses.
Who is it?
I can't say. I actually thought we had more businesses that were on the budget billing.
So how do you stop, attorney?
I thought once you got on a payment plan, if you didn't make your payments, you got shut off.
This one's not a payment plan. This is budget billing.
Oh, but I thought, when I just said, I said they're on a budget.
Yeah,
billing
and you were
a
told
payment
budget
plan?
and payment.
Yeah, and I got a yes.
Cause they're not on.
But they're not on a payment plan, they just haven't paid, they didn't pay for 2 months.
Right.
Well, then,
They're not on this delinquent list though.
why is that?
Because they're not on a payment plan.
So we have
they
more
would be
people.
They have budget billing, they have budget billing, not a payment.
But they're in default of their budget billing
So
if
we
they
can't
didn't
do
make a
on here?
payment for 2 months.
That's not how, no, that's not how budget billing works, right? They
What
can-
happens if you're on budget billing and you don't pay your bill?
You're supposed to get kicked off the budget billing.
And you
Yeah,
should
and then
be,
you should appear on the
yeah,
list.
right. So we have more people on budget billing that aren't paying that are on this list?
Just this one, correct?
I don't know, do we have more? I didn't think so.
I'm not real familiar with
The
who
budget?
all is on budget new
They
lists.
were on that at one point in time, and they came off.
So I guess what needs to happen is this business needs to notify them, they're right here in town, we can give them a call, which is not gonna be pleasant, but it's just what it is.
And I'm gonna apologize in advance for that because I know it's not gonna be pleasant, but
But you need, per our policy, have it there with you, you know, so, cause they're gonna ask to see that policy, I'm sure. Once you default on your budget billing, you are now,
It's on the contract when they sign
What about the other- no.
Yeah, didn't they?
they signed a contract.
What about the other businesses gonna do?
Then it goes back to regular billing.
they go back to regular billing. The businesses that are on here are not budget billing, they're just in,
Well, why don't we do something about shutting them off?
Yeah.
Why are we letting them slide?
Yes, on that, for the budget billing. I put yes for budget billing. When we printed that report, we said yes for budgets. And we did.
I mean, you give them all the same 24-hour notice that the Missouri Metal Craft's getting.
We have to, because if we're not gonna hold everybody that's under that accountable, we've gotta.
gotta do the same thing.
Yep.
So the whole list.
That's
And I
what
hate it.
policies
Okay.
are for, that's what your policies are for. Proposed to
I
class
mean,
of my
really,
house.
now,
Okay.
this isn't science.
Don't teach them. Is that what's-
Okay.
So do
Thank
you
you.
have a date? Are you gonna notify them tomorrow and they have to pay by,
Monday or Monday.
yeah,
Monday.
Cause that's a significant amount of money from what I remember.
I mean, how much are we talking?
12,000?
Close to 12,000.
She's
For
going
one
down-
business?
She's going down to run a bill right now.
Wow, okay. I have it, it's right there. You all have it. I was
Right
just-
there.
It's right there. There's two of them put together, because it's two different segments of the building, but it's one business. So it's almost 12,000. I did have that.
So I know there was one cycle where we sent delinquent, we sent shut off notices. Anybody over, what was it, 90 days, we started there, right? We started there,
Yes,
and so now where are we at with that?
same cycle.
Okay,
Same cycle. I haven't changed the cycles at all.
so all of these people that are delinquent have received shut off notices.
They did one time, we haven't done it since.
Yeah.
We did that one when everybody took it around.
She's done another one since she's been here.
That's right, she did the yellow cards. She did
Yeah,
put it on the,
she's done
didn't
one.
have even have to put it on the yellow cards.
And
did
I
the yellow
thought she
cards.
went back just to the one billing cycle behind. I thought she went to, you had to be caught up.
I mean, I guess I just need, clarification that now procedure's being followed and it's happening every billing cycle. To those that are delinquent, they're getting the notice, they're getting shut off.
Right.
Because we
Yeah.
got some-
Well, you hope so.
Yeah.
I think that you all thought they were.
I mean, I just
You had to
took
wait
it,
till
I guess,
after today.
for granted that started,
They're-
and it
they're-
said, get back going now.
So in December, those notices went out. They're just now delinquent today, so today would be,
Yeah.
tomorrow would be
Okay.
the first opportunity, so.
Okay, so all these people are,
Yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah.
and then once we adopt this new policy, there will be no notices, it's on your bill to get shut, right? Yeah.
So tomorrow they become delinquent and a penalty goes on there.
Yes.
And they get shut off when?
The February 12th. Yeah, she did yellow card, that's right. she
As
did
of
yellow
right now,
cards.
the way the policy
Yes.
is.
And she did yellow cards this last week.
Okay.
Because she handwrote on some of them, some had that handwritten.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So with this policy change, are we able to opt out of the cold weather rule? Since we're a
Yes.
municipality,
Yes.
that's in that?
Yes,
Okay.
and eliminated that.
Did I just miss that on the? 'Cause didn't-
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
It's on there, that,
Okay.
yeah, we don't wanna enforce that.
Okay,
None
that
of
was
the
in
other
there.
towns.
And we can legally do that, right? That's not a state thing that we will be screwed
Probably
with.
be the only municipality in Missouri to opt out of it though. No, they do not. They honor it. They honor it. They do not shut off if it's below 32. Palmyra honors the cold weather ruling. They do let people know they have the opportunity to opt out of it. And if somebody is a significant repeat offender and making no, attempt to rectify their bill.
So they can case by case decide whether or not to
They
honor
have
it.
it, their policy is well adopted, it's well worded, it specifies, even down to like repeat offenders, or how many times they're delinquent in a year. Their policy's pretty rock solid. But they do follow the cold weather policy.
Maybe we need to have it flexible.
Okay. If we have any other questions, we're gonna move on. We could talk about this forever. Moving on to city attorney's report.
Nothing really to add, there's some ordinances there, these are just ones that I'm gonna have to change once we adopt our policy. So, other than that, I got nothing to add.
So nothing needs to be voted on these at this
No.
time until the
No.
correct revisions are made.
Right.
Okay.
This one.
Council committees, planning and zoning,
Nothing.
Parks and Rec. We had a meeting this past week. Don't have anything to report, Mr. Yates isn't here this evening. We are, I would like to bring up, we are looking for individuals who would like to serve in this capacity. We need some more people on the Parks and Rec committee. Mr. Yates has informed me he has served for many years, many as the chair. And he would like to step down as the chair of that committee if somebody could fill his shoes. Those are big shoes to fill because he has done a wonderful job with that committee, but I am looking for some more people who are interested in serving in that way. Economic development, administrative report, Alderman Osborne.
I was gonna ask her about the Tession has been screwed up, but she left.
Oh, she said that, right?
Oh, okay, and then she's got new hire for the library, it says assistant director and clerk.
Okay.
I don't know, then I saw, Michelle Henry, a letter to her, but I don't understand, is she the library director or just an assistant?
Let's see. Please occupy part-time position as assistant library director / library clerk. So she will be fulfilling both of those roles on a part-time basis.
So the director and the assistant?
She's gonna be, filling both. So the library board is needing council approval on their recommendation for hiring Ms. Kendrick as, the part-time position of assistant library director / library clerk with the city of Monroe City, effective Monday, January 29th. So if I
I'll
could
make
have
that motion.
So I have a motion to approve the hire of Ms. Kendrick for that role. Do I have a second? And a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Would you mind if we take-
Did Tession get all straightened out? I know people's time off, this, their
You got-
vacation.
You got a lady back there can do payroll. I don't know why we still farming it all out.
Who, Danette?
Yeah, she said she could do it, you know, basically 2 hours every pay period.
And then she also
And I'll
has to.
say
get
save
two-
$6,000 and bring it back in-house.
Give her a raise.
Huh? Hell, my blood, what else is going? I'll throw it out there, I'll put it in a form of motion to discontinue to use Tession and bring it back house and
Better ask for.
Can we reevaluate the task on the staff, maybe timing, before we approve that?
If you don't wanna do it, alright.
My recommendation for the time being, since we are still training new employees, we have a new one, Alex, who just got hired, we're still learning, I don't think we dump that on somebody at this time. I would like us to focus on a completed audit and a budget, gentlemen, for 2024, before we make any decision on that. My thoughts.
I do have
Yeah.
a question. Does anybody else know how to do that program besides you?
Yeah, the supervisors are getting ready to, that's what we had a meeting about this week, is they will actually be able to see, and Zach has already gotten approved, and he can see all of his officers on the back end and see when they're clocking in, when they're not, if there's any overlap, any of that. He can watch his own overtime. He can track all of that for his department. So
Do
yes.
you have your portion of it trained to anybody in your absence?
Not yet. I was wanting to figure out who you wanted to designate for that as my backup. Because we were doing the separation of duties and figuring out who was doing what roles. I wasn't sure who you wanted to do that.
And I would almost feel like that would fall, I don't know, no, I'm not gonna say that
I was gonna say.
either. Yeah, never
So
mind.
that's why I have it. It's not that hard. It's not that easy, or not that hard for me to do remotely. It is not, and unless I'm in the hospital, can't for some reason get to a computer, it's not that hard. Now that we have everything set up remotely.
And we still wanna.
And like the W-2s got done this week. We had utility week, I had council week, everything. The W-2s are done. Nobody in staff had to work on getting those done and ready for you, and they're out before the 31st. And we're not having staff come in on the weekends or taking extra overtime and pulling away from their actual jobs. So it is extremely beneficial to have an outside organization doing your payroll. It cuts down on a lot of fraud and theft in regards to hours, times, and regulation.
Okay, nuisance
Wait
report.
a minute, Mayor, since I have an outstanding motion on the floor, I'll withdraw.
Motion withdrew.
But I we'll go back to, did the time get all straightened down with their vacation hours and stuff like that? Cause OB was saying that his was off.
Yeah, his is off because he's one of the select 4
They were grandfathered in.
that were grandfathered in, and Tession took the personnel standards like they're supposed to, because that's what they go with, unless you deviate from that, and you have to give them authorization to deviate from that, and it has to be in writing. So I didn't know that they hadn't put him, I didn't know the former, I didn't know, now I know. We got that, I have a meeting as well with Leah tomorrow.
Okay.
So we've been playing phone tag all
And then
week.
can you talk to him?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, he knows.
Okay.
Who monitors these people that, when they go down to shop at 7 o'clock in the morning and they clock in at 7 when they're not supposed to be there at 7:30?
The supervisors can, because it's actually starting this next week. That's what I have talking with Leah about, is anytime that your employees will clock in, it will send a notification, because now we're actually gonna designate who goes underneath each department. And if they clock in, or they ask for sick time, or they ask for time off, it gives them a notification, then it sends me a notification after they've approved it, or accepted it, or rejected it. So then it comes to me, and then I will know where everybody is, even within the city, in regards to whether they're on or calling in sick for the day or whatever. I mean, I can track that as well.
Alderman Green, I understand your concerns here, and what we keep running into is, we want working, active supervisors in our departments. And our department heads need to be aware that, they are supervisors, they are leaders in their department, and they need to, be responsible for those job duties as well.
It
And I
also-
think a lot of things have just become, laxed.
Yeah, I'm just going by, Kevin says his phone is not even compatible. That the city phone that he's got is not even compatible to pull this stuff up, so I don't know. I didn't look at his phone.
Well, he needs to bring it in and have me work with him.
And if it's a city phone, then
Yeah,
that should be
'cause I
easy
know.
fix.
It's a city phone.
Again, yeah, my other
departments don't have any problems.
So,
They just need to bring it to my attention when they have an issue like that, just bring it in, sit down and we can work through it.
I'll tell him come see.
yeah.
Yes, please.
And I don't understand if they wanna keep complaining and they don't wanna come see the person that needs to get
I can help them.
the problem fixed.
Been in this here and.
Yeah, okay, then we'll pull his ear into the office.
Yeah, but it also will help in regards to keeping your supervisors on task in regards to evaluations. Those notifications are getting ready to start. I have a printout of each department, when their hire date of their employees are. We're gonna go through all of that, and it will send them a notification, they will do their evaluations, and then again, it kicks it up to me in regards to, you can track whether or not your supervisors are actually doing performance reviews on your employees, or they're not, or they're on time, or they're late, and it's banked. And then the employee can actually visually see it at any point in time, they have access to that, so they know what was in that review, they know what they're.
So are our managers getting, our supervisors getting the supports they need to do their job properly? So did we go back to our managers' meetings then?
I had a meeting with them on Wednesday, well,
When,
Tuesday
with those,
this week.
are they gonna be set as a reoccurring, so they know
Yep.
every Monday, this is, so when are managers' meetings?
Every month, every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday?
Every
Every
Tuesday.
Tuesday, one a month, every Tuesday
Yep, at 9:30.
at 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
You where, George?
George may not be.
George does, okay,
No,
okay, gotcha. He's
George
contracted
may or may
services.
not be.
Gotcha, okay.
I'm talking,
The city employees, not contracted service.
well, some of them George can be in on, it depends. Like the one I had this week, I didn't invite George to because it was all HR,
Gotcha,
so I don't wanna waste his time.
gotcha. Okay, we move on?
Sorry.
No apologies. Nuisance meeting, I apologize. I tried to reset it because I was busy this Wednesday night when I thought it was supposed to be, and it's actually February 7th, so in that convoluted email mess that I did, I apologize for that. February 7th is the next nuisance meeting at 5:30.
And Kent and I have already talked, we have a preliminary agenda already set for that, ready to go. Things may change between now and then, but at least a preliminary is already ready to go.
Did I skip something?
Yeah, the heat went out at the barn, and that's a quote, and I'm working on that, so I have to
They're
be
only,
here
they're only
with.
running
It went
on
out
one
to
heater.
two, whatever became of that.
Yeah, but that one was a used one that came out of the shelter, was it the shelter workshop in the tornado? It's been in there, and it's shot, they have nothing.
There's no way to fix it, no.
No.
I already, yeah.
So
Philip?
that is quotes from,
Philip.
Philip Cheek. And he suggested to go with the one that's 23,
Option 2,
yes.
Option B.
Because if we used option 1, it still wouldn't suffice, they would have to have other heaters to,
This is in the city more.
yeah.
What
Yes.
happened with the heat here? Did we got it fixed apparently, or?
They have put coolant in it, they're monitoring it, and they're supposed to get back with me, next week.
I had a citizen ask me, he thought it was still under warranty.
Yes, it is.
It is under warranty, okay. Okay, so on replacing what were we replacing? I
The
didn't even
heater
read it.
at
The heater.
the city barn.
Make a motion that we go with option 2 to replace the heater down at the street corner.
All right, I have a motion for option 2. And a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, do we have any discussions from any of the city departments that need to happen this evening? No? All right. We need to go into closed session, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session, RSMO 610.021, the revised sections of Missouri for hiring, firing, disciplining, and promoting particular employees by a public governmental body.
All right, I have a motion, Second, roll call vote, Alderman Shoemaker, Alderman Saunders, Alderman Osborne, Alderman Watkins, Alderman Green, Alderman Moss. All right, we are now in closed session. Yes, we will go.
Ten to eight, nobody's changed it.
Take the elevator.
So it's right.
I will, cause I'm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is. Somebody actually changed it.
That's what I was gonna say, who fixed it?
Somebody did.
There are no votes made that need to be approved and closed, so if I could have a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor? Motion adjourned. I hate doing that to you guys, I feel like you guys waited for
So-
something and then nothing was. I know.
That's the, I mean, but sometimes there is.
But there is, and there's no way for me to tell you, you need to stay because we're gonna make a vote, cause I don't know how the conversation's gonna go.
John Russell, you have a good night.
So, is there a spot?
Okay.
There's gonna be 2 spots coming on the road.
I will.
You're right. And there's a full-on hybrid. Hybrid before we live in the last few years with tricky spots. Yes.
So will they hire somebody?
Yeah.
Physically and.
All right? Yeah. Are you gonna try to call the county?